Hello and welcome to Leviathan News. It's December 15th. We're rolling into the holiday session. And it's just me today. DeFi Advisor is out traveling, and so is Garrett as well, too. We might have some guests that drop in later today, but we shall see. Yesterday was just havoc, honestly, as Ledger, manufacturer of crypto wallets, had their CDN compromised. It's like a supply chain attack on their Connect kit, which connected to pretty much every single DeFi app that had added them. This would be like Zapper, SushiSwap, Phantom, Balancer, Revocash. The list goes on and on and on. Anywhere, any dApp that you could sign in with Ledger was at risk for this attack yesterday. There's also some claims from MetaMask that MetaMask itself was also at risk too, but I didn't see any further reporting on that. It was really just a pretty unbelievable breach of security on the part of Ledger. So the the hack itself came out early yesterday, and within an hour, it had been fixed. Actually, we do have somebody. Tarek is here today. What's going on, Tarek, sir? Welcome. Oh, hey, DeFi Advisor's here as well, too. Late joiners to the stream, but welcome, guys.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Not sure I was going to be able to catch it, but happy I did. And what a pleasant surprise to see you here with Tariq. What's up, Tariq?
Yeah, Tarek's, I think, having some camera issues that he's going to try to work through. But what's up, DeFi Advisor? How are you?
I'm good. Thank God. How are you guys?
I'm pretty good. Marked safe from Ledger, I can say.
Thank God. But how can you be sure, by the way? How can someone be sure? Is it clear enough?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, with the Ledger stuff, I think that it's really just a nasty situation that happened yesterday. What happened was one of the former employees who worked at Ledger was phished and lost access to some repositories and the attacker was able to gain access to some repositories sitting on GitHub that allowed for this code injection. And pretty much compromised all of DeFi. Like if you had signed any sort of transactions using your Ledger during that time period, you would have been at risk. It doesn't matter if you were like revoking contracts or doing anything else, like there would have been the ability to inject this malicious code into the transactions that you're making.
Man, this is concerning in a way to know that something like that can be such a big breach in the industry, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, the hackers seems kind of stupid because for all the access that he had to, really like all of crypto, everything, everywhere.
What?
Yeah. Anybody that was using a Ledger to sign any sort of crypto transactions was at risk for this attack yesterday.
But wasn't it only if you chose like this pop-up that was before on the front ends? Wasn't that only the risk factor, or were there other stuff?
So I think that inside of the code there was the ability for the attacker injected this wallet drainer that essentially, if you signed it, then you would give him full access to everything in your wallet. The amount of funds that were stolen was only about $150,000, which for the significance and the size of the breach is pretty small. He also
150 million, huh?
Yeah, I know. Additionally, like the attacker took most of the funds in Tether, which Tether immediately froze. So I don't think the attacker was very sophisticated. It definitely wasn't the North Koreans doing this. It looks like somebody who didn't have a lot of experience and wasn't ready for the attack because it could have gone a lot worse.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're actually saying we basically really got lucky yesterday.
Yeah, very lucky. So Matthew Lilly, the CTO of Sushi, was among the first to report the attack. They saw that the breach had happened, and this is really just a really unfortunate. But when we look at Ledger, this is just the latest in an ongoing of just security breaches at the company, which is almost inexcusable at this point. Ledger has not had a significant level of security that it's been able to provide its users. I remember this year there was a disclosure of their entire email list of anyone who had ever purchased a Ledger before. I know that people personally that I know started receiving like spam emails, also targeted emails towards them because their addresses were names and addresses were disclosed. Really, really nasty stuff. People trying to go after them. It was just a pretty incredible breach, and it's not the first as well. Too, Ledger has had multiple breaches, and they have shown that as a security company, they've let down their users over and over and over again. It's particularly bad at this point, and there's a tweet that I have here from DC Investor, essentially saying that it starts with Nick Johnson, saying that it's clear that Ledger has learned nothing about OPSEC from multiple breaches. And he said, at this point, I don't think anyone in good conscience should recommend using their hardware or libraries. DC Investor follows up saying that if it was just an isolated incident, that would be fine, but it's not at this point. And if they were actually functioning as a security company and a security firm or had proper controls, the CEO would resign. New leadership would conduct full top to bottom audit of the security processes. But we're not going to get that. Nobody's getting fired for this. And they're just going to release 100 new graphic themed hardware wallets and change nothing. So just it's a really bad situation all around.
Yeah, that's quite insane. I also saw that, just like you say, that it's someone that was already not even working within Ledger. Like they fish him from his home. It's kind of incredible that something like that can even affect the industry to an extent of $150,000. Not to mention the fact that, like you say, it could have been maybe in the billions, man. Like who even knows? With the amount of money that most of us are securing on our ledger. Oh my God, here he is. How handsome. It was worth it, Tariq. It was worth the wait, man.
Thank you, gentlemen. It is good to be back, and I'm sorry. I want to give the Mozilla Foundation lots of props, but sometimes I got to switch back to the to the Googe.
So Tariq, I mean, I don't. You can be very. You can give us a very moderate question here, but the title of the show today is Ledger the worst company in crypto? And look, I don't mean this lightly either. This is just one in a continuing set of breaches of security at the company, which have led to user funds being at risk or personal information being leaked. And it's not a single incident. If this was just a single incident, we'd wipe it off and be like, okay, security practices need to change. But there's been multiple times where the security. This is just a continuing breach of customer trust at this point.
Well, it's hard because it's tough. It's really tough, and I think it's because Ledger for us is a business partner, so it's very, very hard when Ledger is your business partner and gives you distribution to hundreds of thousands of hardware wallet users via the same path. So it's tough.
Yeah.
And so and I know the founders. They've invested in my companies. It's very hard.
Okay, well, we'll take the look. I think it's a really high bar, right? Like if FTX is the worst that has ever
Right,
been,
right. But I will say that I've seen things that Ledger does that raise my eyebrows, and they do seem to be there does seem to be sometimes a damn damn the rabble, we'll do what we want, and I think that to me has raised my eyebrow. But also it's interesting that what was impacted was essentially this connect functionality, and um, again I think it's tough because Ledger needs to make money, giving people more access, but at the same time, it does not, when it responds to security issue incidences or its security practice, like you said, I agree. It's you just don't get the, hey, you know what, we're going to fix this. You get more the, you know what, that's just how it is. And I think it's a posture, and sometimes it gives me pause, and I worry. And I will tell folks that for your crypto, you want to look at the full range of hardware wallets. Do not just go with the wallet that has the shiny brands on it and has automatic connect. Find a wallet that is serious about security and that doesn't compromise on this. And yeah.
Look, I'm not saying the security architecture inside the ledger is dysfunctional, but this I guess is just a symptom of maybe bloat at the company where they're trying to do too much. There was a very long post in Lobsters. I don't know if you saw it like yesterday. Ivan essentially said it should have been a blog post.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it detailed what was specifically happening with Ledger, talked about the evolution. It said that like there had been this transition from like Wallet Connect v1 to Wallet Connect v2. So the dApps could like integrate Ledger support without using ConnectKit to support like Web3 apps.
Mm-hmm.
But when Wallet Connect v1 was sunsetted, Wallet Connect v2 introduced new advantages like enabling network switching within dApps, and then also using pairings versus sessions. So like Wallet Connect has been like pretty great for bringing on new users, but it also brought on automation risks. So like as dApps like started to widely adopt Wallet Connect v2, it pressured developers to implement the v2 system and kind of sunsetted on the v1. Which Ledger had its ConnectKit in v1. So the critical feature of the ConnectKit was that it didn't require dApps to specifically check for Ledger devices. They just needed to integrate the libraries. And so this made the Ledger support more universalizable, but it also made it dependent on these libraries, which we saw the attack come through yesterday. And it's pretty unfortunate because this attack came through an ex-employee, right? Like this person should have had his permissions revoked. Also, there should have been more visibility for these types of changes inside of their libraries at like a core level. Like there should have been multiple people who should have had to sign off on like a GitHub update for this like CDN injection. So I don't know. I think that they'll probably have to take a long look at their security practices, as they did after the whole phishing scam or the phishing incident as well too. And hopefully there's some significant changes that are made. I had I don't know if it's a oh, hey, we got on Amplis as well too. Morning, sir. Okay. So yeah, we'll see if there's significant changes that come out of it. It's probably a wake up call for them that they actually need to take a good look at what their practices are. And it's not even the first like Ledger story that came out this week that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that, like we said earlier, it's not the first time. Ledger has had, even in the few years that I'm in the industry, there was some stuff with Ledger, like they've had a few moments in which they could have changed their practices a bit. But I think it actually it signifies a bigger issue, in my opinion, with the whole UI UX. It symbolizes the fact that this old system that we're accustomed to is not the actual system that the new users that will actually be onboarded and be most users, they will not accept such practices. It's too hard, too difficult, and still risky. So people are not going to do it.
Yeah, it is kind of a setback. There's also the other story that I wanted to talk about this week was that Rec Builder came out and he had been going through like a version of Ledger Live, and they have huge amounts of tracking code inside of their app. I don't know if it's for like advertising reasons, but there's a ton of trackers that pretty much track everything that you do with your ledger as you're doing it. Yeah.
Because also the software itself, it doesn't really give you all the data that you want from your wallet. Like, for example, I'm getting more info when I use the bank than when I use my Ledger Live app. Like, it's not even comparable.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strange business model, right? That you're like making these small devices, but then Ledger's having to try to figure out like how can we build additional services on top, and it's a very tough business. I will say that. I wouldn't want to be in the hardware business because like you're constantly at the threat of threat actors, or even just like black hat hackers, like small time black hat hackers that are coming for you to try to steal people's money. Tough business.
Yeah, but also, this is one of the biggest companies in the crypto space, like one of the biggest names. One of the first things you learn in crypto is what's a ledger and what's a Trezor. And at least in the years that I'm in, Ledger has a much better, like most people that I'm looking at have been using Ledger, not Trezor.
I mean, I would probably recommend Ledger for people that are just coming in and want something easy to use. Like it is a good system and they have great software.
Yeah, I mean, in the Cosmos community, Ledger is the default wallet. Like, if you're in Cosmos, the only wallet we talk about is Ledger. I mean, for security of keys, you have Kepler, which is a browser-based wallet. But before Kepler really revamped in a year or two ago, it was, use your Ledger. So, so yeah, I know lots of folks who walk around with their,
Do you guys use Trezors or Ledgers?
I couldn't confirm nor deny I use any of these companies.
I use Ledgers.
I have a Grid Plus. I switched over a couple of years ago, and I've been very happy.
I wonder how many people have used like all of these hardware wallets and it can actually be like, oh, this one's better, this one's worse.
I think it really depends on your lifestyle. Like if you're at home, this is not going to be a Grid Plus shill, but like if you're at home, then Grid Plus works great. Like it's got a giant screen that you can see the entire transaction that you're about to fire off. And it's big and it's bulky and it has to sit on a desk somewhere and it's not something that travels well. If you're traveling, a Ledger or Trezor is probably the better option because it's the size of a USB device.
I mean, I've used the Trezor. I've never used the Ledger before.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Trezor is like, it's fine. I haven't used the Ledger before, so I don't know, but at least like Trezor hasn't leaked my information to the whole internet about like where I live and stuff. So that's a plus.
How kind of them.
Yeah, I know. Like the customer service is so good. They didn't leak all my my address to the internet.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Trezor doesn't have a secure element in it. And that's one of the reasons that I think people choose the Ledger is that even though Trezor is completely open source, they have there's a differentiation in the hardware between the two that the Ledger has. So again, it's a really tough business. And there's so many like threat actors out there who are trying to just screw with you and your hardware wallets that I don't know. It's not the kind of business I want to be in, but somebody has to do it. And I guess they're always going to take flack. It has to work perfectly or people are going to be angry, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
And also, I think the hardware wallet landscape is going to change like in the next year or two. You remember we talked a few weeks ago with a wallet company. I don't even remember the name currently, but they have like an innovative wallet, which is a lot more like UX oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this kind of, in a way, duopoly that Ledger and Trezor have, and I think is at least in the last few years, mostly dominated by Ledger. I really think there's a good chance that this is going to change when the massive onboarding actually comes, and people are going to come with a whole new like set of demands and standards and practices. And I don't think it's going to last forever. That every crypto user is going to have a ledger almost.
Yeah, hopefully everything just moves to account abstracted, and we figure out how to have like, I don't know, biometric security.
Hey man, WorldCoin is coming for your eyeballs, and your logins. They're gonna be coming for your private keys next.
I'm gonna inject a RFD nanochip into my wrist and
Right.
that verification.
I mean, you're saying that ironically, but like maybe not like
maybe
one of
not.
those
Maybe
credit
it's
card things. But
yeah,
I would definitely do some like I don't know, cybernetic fucking surgery to get like my private key linked to my body.
Would you put the RFD
A lot of
chip
people
in your
will
wrist?
be good.
Yeah, like if it was somehow secure, right, then I would consider it.
I guess you guys have not been watching enough versions of Saw. You guys don't even watch enough Saw movies. I'm just like, any bodily implant is like.
Yeah. Keep that ledger outside of my body if you don't want.
That's right. But I would say one good thing about this entire event has exposed me to a whole new array of hardware wallets. I have been one of these default people. I won't say which ledger, which hardware wallet I use, but I want to say I've been looking at SafePal X1. Some folks I know who previously were in Ledger recommend SafePal X1 as sort of moving and doing some of the right moves. So this is not a product endorsement. I don't own one. I'm not involved in the company, but this little kerfuffle has really started me saying, hey, let's look at what are other people using that they're saying, hey, this is something folks might want to consider. So yeah, and apparently the pro is here is that it's audited, open source, and
the price is great.
The price is really looks good, and you get 205 backup, so you need 2 cars to restore the wallet. Looks like it might be promising. So I didn't even know before today. I was like, who else? What are people using? I didn't know SafePal X1 was something that folks are like, yeah, this looks like might be
that looks pretty cool.
In my opinion, people are, and correct me if you think otherwise for sure, I think most crypto users, at least on our niches, are using this year. I think they're using Rabbi with Ledger. No?
Yeah, people have been moving to Rabbi. Yeah.
We accidentally jumped into Rabbi for testing, and now we're like fully we don't use MetaMask at all anymore. Like where everything is changing over first for Rabbi. And I was surprised. I had no idea about Rabbi until this year. And my devs were like swearing by it for integration testing. Really.
Well, the right type of hardware to be in business with is actually phones. Do you guys have a Solana phone?
Oh, not yet.
Well,
it's sold out. I can't get one.
You can't get one.
Really?
So the Solana phone, which I didn't know, got a bonk airdrop, and the bonk airdrop is currently worth more than the phone itself.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's worth like $900. So if you buy a $600 phone, you get a $900 airdrop.
Man. Wait, but people didn't know it in advance, right? Like they bought the phone and then they got the airdrop?
Yeah. So like the bonk airdrop had gone out a while back to these Solana phones, but they had a bunch of unused inventory which they hadn't sold, and the price run up of bonk, people just figured it out like 2 days ago on crypto Twitter that, oh, hey, like there's an arbitrage here for the Solana phones. So let's just buy it all out. And so now it's sold out, completely sold out.
Okay. Now I'm understanding what's all this bonk noise about on Twitter. I saw this, but I thought it was something completely different. I didn't even bother to properly read it.
I know, nice. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Because you remember that there was a token called bonk. Do you know about that?
It's like the big meme coin on
yeah.
Amplis, I got you here, and I want to put you under the hot seat today. Sorry for doing this, but Yearn had a like a multi-sig issue, and apparently there's some like scripts that happened. Some like one of the pools, the protocol and liquidity had some big slippage issues. Unfortunate. Hopefully they're able to recover those funds. But yeah, unfortunate for Yearn. I think the those things happen, I guess.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's like, it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. It's like somebody messed up somewhere. It happens all the time. And so I think like quote unquote DAOs are held to a much tighter, stricter standard than like corporates, right? Like it's a different, it's almost like a different level. Like you expect everything to go smoothly, and anytime something goes haywire, like, oh, it's all over it's all over crypto Twitter, but like people fuck up in corporate like every single day, right? Like you have banks where some guy fat fingers and like loses the bank like billions of dollars. Like stuff happens. But yeah, with the Yearn thing, I don't know. I feel like it's FUD.
Yeah, I mean nothing.
We like Yearn. Like, what are you gonna do? Like sometimes people mess up. But it doesn't seem like it's an amount that is going to be that significant to their overall whatever. So like it's unfortunate, but things happen.
Can you guys shortly explain what happened with Yearn?
Oh, they fired off a faulty transaction with their slippage too high, and it essentially like wrecked their own protocol and liquidity position. So like they had some LP and they just set the parameters wrong, and they had huge amounts of slippage. I think they lost like 700K. So
wow,
yeah, unfortunate. It happens, I guess. I guess just put in more controls next time to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, there's always a balance between like being a bit more efficient in terms of just getting things done more quickly, and then like having more controls, right? And like probably, I mean, this isn't a criticism of Yearn. Like obviously, Gearbox is very aligned with them, and like we work together and stuff. Probably like in this case, it's a case of like because Yearn is like pretty big now and has, like you said, a lot of protocol owned liquidity. Like maybe for things like that, there should be a bit more process in place. But again, like I don't think it's like in the scheme of things, it's not that huge a deal, I think.
Yeah,
and like they'll be fine.
Yeah. It's nothing protocol breaking. It's just an internal mishap.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like people love to shit on Ethereum, DeFi summer, DeFi 1.0 coins.
Like DeFi 0, like Wi-Fi was like the original,
the real OGs.
The godfather of DeFi.
Especially since Solana's pumping. But Yearn will have its time in this market, I think.
Do you think 2024 is the year of Yearn? I mean, we've seen a few like comeback tours for Yearn.
You mean the token, Sam?
No, I mean in general, like Yearn, so
I think in general they're doing some cool stuff. Actually,
they're doing some great stuff. I think it's just like for Yearn to return as like one of the dominant protocols inside of DeFi that is really like narrative defining in 2024. I kind of get that feeling that it's going to take place, like with their new VE tokenomics system and some of the other strategies that they've been adding. I really think that Yearn is definitely due for its moment in the sun again.
I'm inclined to agree. I think probably not in the next kind of 3 months, but at some point, I think basically like you gotta like think in your head, what is 2024, 2025? Like what's this bull market going to look like? Right. And like, you got to figure like all the OG coins are going to pump at some point, the OG DeFi coins, because it's been just disastrous for, even before the end of the last bull market, those coins were underperforming. So in that sense, like narratively, I think there's room for it to catch. And Yearn, like, they have their new tokenomics. I don't exactly like. I haven't looked into it, so I don't know how they work, but I assume that they're like well designed. And then you have like their V3 vaults, which are like should encourage more and more things to be built on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what you need essentially is like yields to come back to DeFi, and especially like to Ethereum DeFi. And once that happens, then it's like virtuous cycle. Once you're in that virtuous cycle, then people will be like posting bullshit about. I mean, not bullshit. It's like legitimate, but it's like bull market stuff, you know, where like, oh yeah, yields are up and Yearn is going to earn this much money, and they will earn that revenue, and then they're going to be like, oh, it's 100x PE, like, you know, threaders doing like fundamental analysis, like it stunks on Yearn, but like at the height of when yields are super high because like all the shitcoins are pumping, and then like Yearn looks like it's making, I don't know, like $1 billion a year, then the coin will pump. But yeah, we're just not there yet. It's going to take a few months.
Yeah. Okay, so I know this is a little bit early. I'm working on my 2024 kind of predictions, and I have a few that I've been thinking about. But have you all thought about anything for 2024, like what we should expect or what you're looking to see?
Yeah, I think number go up.
Summed it up well. I think that's what a lot of us feel. I actually feel that ETFs are coming, and a lot of new money is going to enter the system in magnitudes that we haven't seen yet. And I do believe it's happening in 2024, but I have no idea what I'm talking about in general. You know,
anything for the DeFi space? Here's mine. I think the blast trade will probably be it's a midwit trade.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you? We're just starting the bull market cycle, and it's just like the most crowded trade, and it's like your funds are locked.
Yeah.
So all those people are sitting on the sidelines, watching as everything. I mean, I don't know. It's totally mid curve.
Yeah. So those 3 months that you're locked up, you pretty much miss all of Arbitrum STIP. Like there's some pretty insane yields over on Arbitrum right now for this short-term incentive program, like well into the like triple digit range, if you know where to look. And you know, you're stuck in the blast contract making 5% on your US on your dollars, and then like 3% on your ETH. And I don't know, maybe the APR for the blast comes out at like 20 to 30%, but it's still like much less than whatever you could find on Arbitrum at the moment, or anywhere, or maybe Solana as well too, with what's going on there.
I mean, like basically, right? If you think about, essentially, like the blast thing is like partially, okay, you get your ETH staking yields, whatever it is they're doing, and then you have like potential airdrop, right? But when you're farming potential airdrop, not my understanding, like logic dictates that like you want a coin that has like high potential to pump, and it's like very not crowded, so nobody's paying attention. And that's how you like Celestia, for example, is like a good example. Like, I don't think that many people were really airdrop farming Celestia that strongly because it's like more of a Cosmos thing. So there's this guy I met in Turkey who like he was like a Cosmos validator, and he got airdropped 100k Celestia tokens. Wow. That's like $1.5 million now, whatever it is.
Wow.
It's like $1 million. It's like 1.4 million. Yeah. It's like, it's crazy, but that's what you got to do. If you got to be like, okay, which things are like everybody's not paying attention to that also when the token comes out is going to do well. And like Blast, maybe the token will do well, but everybody was paying attention to it because literally everybody aped. So, you know, what kind of FDV do you need to actually earn a good return compared to other things you can do? So I think, I mean, I guess if you're like, you have a lot of capital to deploy, maybe it's like more of just an easy, like 30% on like a large amount is still quite a lot of money. But if you're like in the trenches and whatever, trying to make it, blah, 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 I think it is definitely midwit.
Yeah. Do you see?
You know what I'm very curious about 2024, to be honest, about Frax, because I really think that Frax has a lot lined up. Like I haven't been following it that closely, but I'm seeing some of Dave's tweet and some of what you guys are talking about, and it definitely seems like something big is brewing in Frax for 2024.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would 100% agree. I'm just way too biased to answer this question. I mean, I'm like beyond, bullish.
We'll forgive you, Sam. It's okay. We'll forgive you for being biased. No worries.
It's okay to chill. Just chill it.
So in January, Frax Chain is coming out, which is going to be Frax's brand new L2. They're going to move all of their current services over there, and then I would expect like dApps to be deployed. There's probably going to be a perpetual DEX. There's probably going to be all the other services that we see. They have a new lending system coming out called BAM, which is Borrow AMM, where essentially they take Uniswap v2 pools and then they virtualize the swap curve, and then you can borrow out of the Uniswap v2, and then you're essentially borrowing against the constant K, and not just borrowing against the like either one of the values. We've written about it a little bit on Flywheel, but I think it's kind of similar to what Balancer has with their boosted pools, but it'll just add a lending component onto any Uniswap v2 style pool, which I think is pretty cool. So you could have lending on a meme coin, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That does sound cool.
Yeah, Frax ETH v2 comes out sometime next year, which will provide like a dynamic interest rate market for ETH validators. Again, like this whole modularity, actually 2024 might be like the year of modularity, right? Like Celestia is just kicking off now. Eigenlayer is coming sometime next year. And so like as an ETH validator, like you'll make your 3% base, but then through restaking and other modular applications, you might be able to raise that up to, I don't know, 20, 30, 100% even. So it might be the year of being a validator through
That's going to go well.
Yeah.
No risk there. Restaking for 100% yield with your ETH. It's definitely okay.
How do you guys actually see it? Like, how risky is what's been planned in your mind? I'm not technical enough to actually
I think
understand.
with Eigenlayer, it's like it depends on what you're restaking in, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point. The whole point is like you can decide what to restake in, and things will have different risk profiles, and then like the yields will be higher or lower based on that, I guess. And like you can choose your mix of like how risky you want to go. But my worry is that like you said, there's gonna be some like 100% ETH pool, and like literally everybody's gonna ape into it, and it's gonna blow up somehow,
and then everybody gets slashed.
Yeah, and then like that's gonna bring the rest of us down to like bring down the whole market a bit, kind of thing. That's the kind of thing I'm worried about. Like I'm also not that technical, so but
yeah,
my understanding of Eigenlayer, like it's cool. The problem is like you can't stop the apes from just aping, like going all in, and so like there's gonna be so much ETH in some of these restaking things that are like the most risk on ones that, especially in the bull market. Like in the bear market, maybe people will be like more conservative and they'll actually think about like, okay, this one is 10% APY, but it's very, very safe. But like in the bear, it's gonna be crazy. Basically, that's my take.
Yeah, I agree with that as well too, and it kind of breaks DeFi as well too, because like once you start to add on all these different slashing conditions to your validator, it's almost impossible to lend against it. You have to set up like a very special lending market that can like do a risk adjusted scoring of all the slashing conditions that you have. I don't know. It's going to take a lot of complexity to make Eigenlayer work, both on the infrastructure side that they're building out, and then integration into the rest of the crypto space as well too. So I think it'll be slow going at first, but
yeah,
you know, it in its more kind of mature form, maybe in 3 to 5 years, we might see significant assets move into restaking yields. Yeah.
To go back to Frax though, like, so the thing for me about Frax is like you guys are doing so many things. I don't know what the narratives are anymore. Like, it's like, yeah, I like basically I can't keep up.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, right? And yeah, that if there's any two like two like how would I say this, like knocks on Frax that you would give, is that like the team is just so gifted that they just do so many different projects that it's hard to say like with one thing that this is what they're doing. But I think you could look at it, it's more of like an Amazon of crypto, where, you know, Amazon just kind of like broadened out into building everything, and was able to attract everybody into their vertical pipeline, and you know, it worked out for them. And I think that's the bet that Frax taking. Additionally, like the Frax team is like 8-9 people on the development side, which is great. But when you start to get these bigger projects, you know, there's you either I don't know. I mean, it's a really fine line to navigate, right? Like how how big do you grow the team before it starts to bloat? Because you don't want to have a team where you have like 100 people and the management is not able to keep eyes on everything, and the bloat just starts to eat away your product timelines and your runway and everything. I think it's incredibly difficult, and it's the same for any project, right? Like, it's just sometimes you become a victim of your own success, or you don't, and that's the needle that has to be threaded, and it's incredibly hard to do. But I have faith in the Frax team that they can do that. So
I mean, on the team size thing, I think like for me, it's definitely better to stay lean.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Like I feel like past a certain point, you add more people and you actually get less effective somehow.
Yeah. There comes a point where you can add a team member and you get exponential growth within internally, but then you add one more and you start to get bloat.
Yeah.
And there's no real defined line of how many people that is. It could be 4, it could be 10, it could be 20 even. But there does come a point where like any new person that you add into the project bloats and slows down the overall development.
Definitely agree with that. Like past a certain point, adding a new person, because you figure like if you're good at hiring, you've hired like the 5 best people or whatever, 10 best people. Like every person you're adding is like bringing the average productivity of the team down and weighing like you're like almost as fast as your slowest like rower or whatever, like in a boat.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
But there's no way to like effectively, like, how are you supposed to look at it?
You can't tell where right? That line is. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's more about organizational culture and chemistry, because it's not only there. Like for some teams they should be 4 people, for some teams they should be 12, for some they should be 50. It's a lot more about, in my opinion, what's this organization about, what's the culture there, and how can they maintain their own chemistry and culture and values. Because sometimes I think as you grow, you let go of some of the stuff that pushed you forward in the beginning, and I think that the smart teams make sure that it won't happen to them. And I think that in the case of Frax, for example, at least from someone who's looking from the side, it seems like, yeah, the team is small, but this team is so talented.
They work hard,
with such smart people that another team with 40 people can't do what Frax is doing with 9 people. With all due respect, and this talent was attracted to work for Frax for a reason. Like, and as long as Frax maintains their culture and their way of working, I think it's the most important thing in order to thrive, because they're definitely. Like for a project with so few people working on, they're tackling like the biggest issues on crypto, and they really want to be like just like Sam just said, they want to be the Amazon of crypto. They want to build something huge, and I think they're doing something very interesting. We didn't even mention what they're doing with PayPal, with POA.
Oh yeah. But I think like, I don't want to name any names, but there are other teams. Look, hold on. Actually, I want to take a step back here. I think that if you're just building on chain, right, you don't have to have a huge team, because the contracts that get deployed, you can have a small team that's deploying really good contracts. Like it's quality over quantity, right? There are other teams that I can look at, maybe a lot of like projects or companies that have gone bust as well too, where they just grow too fast. They try to do too much stuff. I mean, we've talked about how some of these, is it like Hector DAO? Hector DAO was a great example, right? Where they had $100 million in their treasury or of TVL, and they just started like spamming off different ideas of what they could do. Let's get marketing with the German soccer league. Let's get a staff let's get a staff burn of like close to $2 million a year. Let's try to do all this stuff like before we have product market fit, and it just didn't work, and they blew up. So that's kind of the risk on the other side, right? Is that by staying lean and staying tight, you can control your costs a lot more, and you can stay very focused on like a single product outcome, rather than trying to have to like spam and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Frax, when you
say like vision, it's about the vision. Sorry, I'm blessed. I think that in the case of Frax, Sam Kazemian had a vision, and things started following. And I think that when the vision is not strong enough, it can be shifted too quickly. And when you're already sitting on a big budget and a lot of money, many people become more more focused on, okay, we have 100 million. How can we pay it to ourselves in the next 5 years with growing the team and promising a lot of stuff? And just like Sam said earlier, you lose all your PMF even if you had some.
Yeah. I mean, you could say the same thing for any project, right? It's not just Frax, right? Like every project has to go through this period of like growing and like adding new people on. You guys have probably faced the same challenges at Gearbox as well too. And
I gotta say. And by the way, Plies, I remember that you guys, when you were on Send It, the Send It podcast with me and Wajahad, you told us that you have I think around 30 employees, or
not even that many. Did you say 30 or 13?
13.
That sounds about right. Not employees, DAO contributors.
Yeah.
Okay. Apologize.
DAO contributors, Gary.
Apologize. All these people, mom.
But okay, so those things aren't even really like, so those two things that I brought up aren't even really like bad. Like they're not knocks, right? I mean, they're things that people would say, but like, I don't think they're net negatives for the space, right? Like they'll continue to be positives until they're not. And right now they're still positives. It's just people looking from the outside that may not have a good understanding of what happens inside the organization at the end of the day. And so like there's like unknown unknowns, kind of like Donald Rumsfeld here, of what you like don't know. And so if you're just operating within the space of what you can affect, then hopefully there's good outcomes at the end. So
yeah. So when you say like Frax is trying to be like Amazon, what you're saying is eventually I'm going to be able to buy a banana on Frax.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Can I buy a banana on Amazon?
Probably.
Yeah. I can. Yeah, no, they have fresh
Amazon Fresh.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Fresh. Yeah. How is Gearbox right now?
Good. We're like mid deployment for V3. V3 we'll start with just trading to begin with. It's almost like a kind of soft launch or whatever, like when restaurants open to just family and friends and like do a few nights. It's kind of like that. We'll keep it like a bit low profile, especially heading into Christmas, right? So pure trading first, which is just like margin trading essentially with real assets instead of like synthetic, fake, virtual, whatever, blah, blah, blah assets that aren't represented. I mean, basically like you hold the assets in your credit account that you're trading. So like less platform risk, I guess. That's on the I didn't come on here to shill. So, but it's a trading, and then we'll launch farming beginning of next year, and then deployment to L2s and like there's lots of stuff coming basically.
Yeah.
Then you have a license to shill here.
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, but we're gonna come on like next week to actually show. or after Christmas or so at some point. Yeah.
Will be great.
Yeah. Well, cool. That's a great place to wrap up on. Enjoy the conversation today. Not all the opinions expressed here are just our own. We don't have any organizational opinions. Like, we like Ledger, we like Gearbox.
I use it.
We like Frax. We like everybody, right? There's just unfortunate events that happen for say Ledger, and we're all here to see builders grow and prosper in this space. So. I think that when we critique the events that are occurring or things that are happening within different protocols or organizations, it comes from a place of positivity and love and wanting to see the space succeed, and not like just complaining about stuff and expecting people to do better. So
Definitely.
That's definitely not true of me. I'm definitely like rooting for some people to fail, just to be clear.
What is it like? Others must fail so I can succeed.
Exactly. It's not enough that I succeed. Others must fail. That's like my spirit animal.
How practical? The pragmatic approach.
Yeah. Well, perfect. It's Friday. Go touch some grass. We'll be back on Monday for next week, and enjoy the holidays.
Amen. Bye,
Thanks
folks.
for having me. Bye.
Bye.